It has just gone 8 o'clock Central African time. Good evening and welcome to the news bulletin at 8, brought to you by Eswatini TV. I'm Sanabo Ngwana. I am with Zaman Zamanzi. We're coming to you live from our Hospital Hill studios in Bamade for our top stories at 8. Let's dive straight into it and take a look. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation says they've engaged a professor to write about the Tingundla system. 600,000 trees have been planted under the Plant a Tree, Save the Environment campaign, which was launched by the Ministry of Tourism and Environmental Affairs in the year 2020. And the National Maize Corporation's turnaround strategy has been presented to the Ministry of Agriculture. Hello again. Let's dive straight into the news in detail. The Minister of Home Affairs, Princess Lindiwe, urges stakeholders of the ministry to ensure that they use trees, especially for traditional medicine. They remain cognizant of the environment. The minister was speaking at the Eswatini Conference of Churches during the tree planting ceremony to commemorate the International Forestry Day.
The minister says trees contribute immensely to a clean environment as they emit oxygen which is needed by humans, which makes the exercise of planting trees more critical. She continues to say during the COVID-19 pandemic, some trees were overly used and some were cut, which is not encouraged.
Nami ngiyakhuthaza ukuthi emaswati akahlanyela tiphilisi ebekunene noma ngabe soyahlanyela kuba kunyento labanye athola ukuthi unalo lelibala lapha ekhaya la ngahlanyela khona lokunye la ngagcina sathengisa keje akacabanga lokuthi angakwenda lokho kunene vele singathi ijubi tonke letihlahla tikhona letilaphako kukhona ihlahla leti nevele tatiwa konje kusihlahla esinake sinathako nangiphethwe ngumkhuhlane njengesikhathi seCovid nje bekunemhlonyane bese usebenzisa bekunene tihlahla tikhona letisiphilisako singajubi konke.
The minister urges all stakeholders of the ministry to ensure that they are mindful of the contribution of trees to the environment. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Dlangamandla, Themba Shabangu, Manzini.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Tulile Adler, says they've engaged a professor to write about the Tingundla system and further make recommendations if need be. Adler says this is not to document the system for people who wanted to read and learn about it. The minister has said this when her ministry appeared before its portfolio committee on Senate on Tuesday.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation appeared before its Senate Portfolio Committee on Tuesday for its budget debate. The committee had questions for the ministry.
Are there plans by the ministry, Honourable Minister, to further engage the EU and relevant stakeholders to separate matters that are before the courts, political activism, matters that border on criminality and human rights issues, rather than ukuthi konke kufakwe kushwamba kanye ngakunye lokuhlukanisa.
Asekubhalwe la mave lesinale tindlu bombasata nyalo bokhuluma ngemarent etindlu ngophela ngamanye kungathi kwahola eParliament neCabinet kungaholwa kwakhiwa letindlu lengaphandle talabantu labasathwa la bayiswe lengaphandle.
Minister Tulile Adler responded.
Ngihlangene nalamanye ma development partners. Ngacela kwekuthi asifandele lomnye professor who happens to be our honorary consul based in Nairobi. Saze sakhuluma safika lapho sithi khona here is a tapestry. Lenhle. But seemingly, someone has identified the area where it is now sagging. The
minister said that they have made written submissions to the Commonwealth and United Nations, among other organizations, about the state of affairs in the Kingdom of Eswatini. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosima Vimbela with Mbonga Dubens Kumbuzo Dlamini. Parliament.
600,000 trees have been planted under the Plant a Tree, Save the Environment campaign, which was launched by the Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs in the year 2020. This has been said by the Minister Moses Vilagati during the commemoration of the International Forestry Day at Lembi under the Ndondozi constituency.
The minister says it is everyone's responsibility to plant trees as they contribute to saving the environment. The site chosen at Lembi has a donga which is threatening to cut off the St. Bernard's Primary School from the community.
Nawuhlanyela tihlahla nomhlanyele emahlanzi uletha impilo. Lo sikhuluma nje namhlanje sesingetulu kwa 600,000 lesihlanyele nje kulesikhashanyana lesi. Lokusho ukuthi uyawuthi yaphela lenyanga ngicabanga ukuthi sidabe sifikile ku 1 million. Siyethemba nje nonke nguloyo sidambona hamba hlanyela ngelikhaya uhlanyela likotapeni uhlanyela ingcozi uhlanyela noma ngabe yini konke lokho kutawusita live sikwadi ukuthi siyembi.
The principal of St. Bernard's Primary School, Khumbula Dlamini, says they will continue planting trees.
Ndasiqiniseko nathi njengesikolo ukuthi leto hlahla sitithola kosatihlanyela siqhubeke siticele naletinye tinini tenkosi siqhubeke sihlanyele nebatali nabo sibakhuthate ukuthi basiphathele tihlahla siqhubeke kuze lo msebenzi imvelo yethu iqhubeke inganyukubeteki.
The learners say they have learned that trees provide food, contribute in fighting climate change, and can act as wind shields.
Sitange ukuthi ke sikhona kuphumulela kiso lamhla indweni sitshela thina sifike emakhaya sifike sihlanye izihlahla sitokhona kuhlala kito kuze nemvelo yethu igcineke.
Soil erosion. The minister says planting trees in such areas can prevent further soil degradation. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Ngamandla, Themba Shabangu, Lembi.
The Minister of Public Service, Mabulela Maseko, says all sectors of society need to be sensitized on the importance of saving the environment, especially the youth, as they can play a major role in initiatives like the tree planting campaign by the Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs. The Minister was speaking at Ndluzini High School and Mapalaleni Clinic under the Mapalaleni constituency.
Now so kuyabuka la Ndluzini esikolweni nje kude tihlahla. Kuyabita lokuthi ke sihlala tihlahla ndothola umoya lo fresh lona oxygen lenele kuze ndokhona kuphila nifunze kahle.
The National Maize Corporation's turnaround strategy has been presented to the Minister of Agriculture. Principal Secretary Sydney Simelane says the strategy looks at various issues which include transferring assets like tractors to NMC. Another matter on the table is the possible retrenchment of workers. Temeko Mavimbela has more on that story.
Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Sydney Simelane, says their ministry is partly to blame for challenges faced by the National Maize Corporation as they gave it the responsibility of tract hire services without the necessary budget. Simelane says they have since put in place a turnaround strategy as per Parliament recommendations.
Labashayeli baletikulumba nabo basuka ngala kahulumende labanye babo. So nasebaya ngale ka NMC kwadzinga-ke ukuthi kube khona lokulungiswako ukuthi vele batransfere kahle yonke ipaperwork yendiwe. Kufaka nje khathi ngisho ukuthi ibudget yekubaholela bekufuna ukuthi ihlephulwe ngala kahulumende bahambe nayo. Onke lawo ma-processes sisengakawendi kahle sisengakawa-finalize but kuyadzinga lokuthi siwende.
Simelane says funds were not misappropriated at NMC. However, the corporation used money allocated to other operations for tractor hire services. He says although this was against government practice, NMC had to do it to ensure farmers are able to plow on time and by extension ensure food security. Swatini TV News, Temgosi Mavimbela with the Mbongwa Dube, Mbabane.
The Minister of Finance, Nell Rickenback, says government intends to pay its arrears around month end. This is through funds from the Johannesburg Stock Exchange and other sources of revenue. The minister has said this during the national budget debate in Senate on Tuesday.
On Tuesday, senators got an opportunity to debate the national budget tabled by the Minister of Finance, Nell Rickenback.
Siyabonga i-budget ya sports, which has been an increase from 69 million to 85 million. Youth unemployment in the country is a cause of concern. We are therefore hopeful that the increase will go a long way in addressing challenges faced by our youth.
Ibhubhile university yethu ngekuthi kuyaphutakala ubhadalela. Mangihamba ngikhaze ukuthi seyikhuluma ngabo 93 million sola ayikawatholi kulo mnyaka lo flow from lo yamnyaka lo yakuze kube namuhla. Sithi ayiphile njani?
Bengingafisa mina ukuthi primary ne high school ibe ngiyo le sponsor ngoba abantwana labaningi bahleli phansi from form 1 kuya form 5 kude labo bebede umuntu nje bekabasita phandle ukuthi mhlambe sibata bese sidayelwe kubhadalelwa la primary kodwa kuyafuneka ukuthi kube khona lo lokwethiwa abantwana bangadrop nje ka form 1 ka standard 5 bese abasakhona ukuthi kuchubeke baye high school.
The minister responded.
The advantage we also have, and that is our increased soccer receipts. So now from us being used to getting 1.4 billion soccer receipts every quarter, almost is about 3 billion Emalangeni starting now in April. So even if the listing is delayed, the cash flow should be there for us to be able to settle arrears more or less in total, the stock of outstanding arrears that we have built up in time.
At the time of compiling this report, the minister was still responding to the House. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosima Vimbela with the Mbongwa Dube Parliament.
More news for you in the world of business as we take a look at our financial indicators to give us a sense of how markets fared today in our financial report.
It can be.
Welcome back. You're still with the news bulletin at 8 at Eswatini TV. I'm Sanipo Ngongwana. We shall now dive straight into the world of sports as we take a look what's going on in there. And we begin with the Eswatini women's football, where the association is looking to soon introduce a regional where each of the 4 regions will have league as a sign of decentralization women's football in the country. Ndandoye Nkosi Hlachwago, who is the Chief Operations Officer, believes this will also play a key role in attracting sponsors to women football in the country.
And in our sports news, we begin with the Women Football Association that is looking to soon introduce regional leagues where each region will be having its own league. The association's Chief Operations Officer Ndandoye Nkosi Hlachwago says this will be seen as a decentralization in women football.
Tikhona kana letinye tinhlelo lesitendako lesitawutiveta khona masinyane ezisikhathi sichubeka ukuthi senda ini kukhona lokugalaza ebhodweni lesikwentako kwekuthuthukisa yona ibhola yabomake ngoba kakhulu kade sifuna kubona emacembu akhuthateka sifuna kubona emacembu futhi aperforma kahle emagroundini ngetulu kwaloko sifuna kubona nelicembu lesive Eswatini labomake liperforma kahle ngoba
Moving on in table tennis, the association that is in charge of the sport has begun junior programs which will be responding to a request from the International Table Tennis Federation that is requesting every affiliated member nation to give full attention to junior programs even during international competitions.
Leli zinga lisesephansi msakade kwanyalo siyakusadzinga ukuthi sisebenze ngoba bancane labantwana labasayidlala kwanyalo ngiko nje sisazama lo ukuthi vele sibuke kona la tikolweni ngokuthi sendele development la tikolweni sitokhona lo ukuthi bakhule nayo labantwana msakade.
And in our international news, Crystal Palace have reappointed Roy Hodgson as their new manager for the remainder of the season. The 75-year-old gets reappointed after Patrick Vieira, who was in charge of the club, was fired last week. And at Tottenham Hotspurs, it is being reported that Antonio Conte is likely to leave the club this week after his comments over the team as the team drew against Southampton this past weekend. And lastly, in tennis, a 21-year-old British tennis star Jack Draper will be missing the Miami Open after his abdominal injury during the recent Indiana Wells. Miami Open began on Monday, the 20th of March, and is expected to be finishing on the 2nd of April this year. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Mbabane.
Well, with those sports news, we have hit the home stretch of our news bulletin at 8. But before we go, a quick reminder of our news-making headlines tonight. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation says they've engaged a professor to write about the Tingundla system. 600,000 trees have been planted under the Plant a Tree, Save the Environment campaign, which was launched by the Ministry of Tourism and Environmental Affairs in the year 2020. And the National Maize Corporation's turnaround strategy has been presented to the Ministry of Agriculture. Beautiful Kingdom of Eswatini, that's all we had for you from the news desk. We shall now cross over to the Weather Center for a detailed weather report. For now, it's good night and God bless.
Tasephalamende luhlelo lapho sikulethela khona tindzaba letenteka etindlini totimbili tasephalamende elive lokungindlaba esikhulu nayo indlu yetimphunga.
First fruits, Mr. Speaker, is a big commitment biblically. The first fruit, Mr. Speaker, inakufa Jesu. Nakavuka, he became the first fruits of a future bountiful harvest later of the Russians.
Sinemsebenzi ke noko, Mr. Speaker, koye ukuthi le maswati ezathola lamathuba emsebenzi kube ngemathuba latawenda bakhona kuphila, Mr. Speaker.
This can't happen. Not at Tingundleni. Let them see it. Tingundla Parliament can actually make things happen.
Khipani timoto ninike bogogo